Hello, I'm Omaha Steak's executive chef, David Rose, and today we're making my Parmesan-Crusted Ribeye with garlic mashed potato puree and wok-fried green beans. I really wanted to pay homage to traditional steakhouses and classic steakhouses of yesteryear and today. So what better way to kick it off than with the ribeye? The ribeye is delicious, it's flavorful, it's well marbled with fat, and it's just darn good. First things first, we want to go ahead and pat it dry. So you take your paper towel, and again, you want to just blot that and remove any moisture from the steak because we want to get that nice hard sear and caramelization once we get it in the cast iron pan. And you want to do a heavy seasoning of salt and pepper. Don't be shy, it's a lot of meat, so season it sufficiently. Okay, so right now what you want to do, you want to actually have the ribeye hang out and come up to room temperature. So what we're going to use again is the sous vide method. We're using a little bit of science here and we're cheating, but in a good way. What we want to do is kind of bring it down to 10 degrees below your target temperature. What that's going to do is when you get it in the pan, sear it off and top it with that amazing Parmesan crust. When it rests, it'll be at a perfect medium rare to medium. As far as cooking temperatures, it is ideal to have a medium done temperature with the ribeye. At that temperature, it'll still be nice and tender, but that luscious intermuscular marbling will create amazing flavor and deliciousness. Okay, so I have my sous vide here set at 120, and I'm going to put our ribeyes into the Ziploc bag. Feel free to use a Ziploc bag or a vacuum seal bag, either way. What you want to do, just focus on the steaks and the seasoning staying inside of the bag and the water staying out. All right, so now that we have our ribeye in the Ziploc bag, we're gonna add a couple aromatics to impart even more flavor. So a little bit of garlic, because garlic and steak just goes hand in hand together. A little bit of thyme for that herbal note. And a little bit of butter, because why not? Fat equals flavor. And very critical point right now, what you wanna do is you wanna make sure that's sealed up so there's no water going inside of the bag. And away we go. Okay, you let that go for about 2 hours. What that's gonna do right now is gonna allow the flavors from the butter, from the thyme, from the garlic, as it's slowly cooking and coming up to temperature, impart more flavor and just kind of infuse it into that amazing ribeye. Okay, while that's going, we wanna go ahead and bang out our Parmesan crust and kind of bring a little bit of that steakhouse flair to your house. So what we have here is an Italian breadcrumbs, a little bit of chive in there as well, and a little bit of Parmesan cheese, because why not? Parmesan cheese is delicious. Pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. I'm putting a little bit of olive oil in there so when we brown the Parmesan crust under the broiler, it's not gonna overly brown and also kind of, give it a nice nuttiness and really beautiful finish on top of that steak. And you kind of want it to form like a loose paste to where it's still kind of sandy, and you can put this on top of the ribeye. So go ahead and rehydrate all those breadcrumbs with that olive oil, get that cheese nice and acquainted, and it's gonna really add a nice crunch and salty factor on top of the ribeye. What is a steak without sides? And when you go to any steakhouse, anywhere, I don't know about you, but I'm always asking for mashed potatoes. So with this perfect execution, I'm gonna show you to make creamy, dreamy, luscious mashed potatoes each and every single time. So first things first, what you wanna do, you wanna dice up those potatoes. Russets are really, really good. They have a nice creamy mouthfeel. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes and our potatoes have been cooked thoroughly and they're nice and tender. But you want to definitely make sure they're nice and tender, because if they're not tender, it's not going to be a good thing for the creamy mashed potatoes, and they're not going to blend properly. So you see that right there? Nice and mashed. Perfect. All right. So let's take these out, strain them off, get rid of all of that water, because water is the enemy of creamy mashed potatoes. Once the potatoes are done, you want to put that to the side, and into a small or medium-sized pot, we add butter. So you bring that up to temp, and while that's doing its thing, you want to also add in some garlic. I did promise a garlic mashed potato puree, so add the garlic in there. You want to reduce that heat down to like a medium simmer and cook very slowly, so we're infusing that butter with all that delicious herbaceousness from the minced garlic. To that, we add our heavy cream, we add salt, we add pepper, maybe some onion powder or garlic powder if you like. You let that heat up and let that butter melt and incorporate and thicken with that heavy cream. That's gonna be the flavor for our potatoes. I like to start the first step off by mashing it just a little bit with a masher. This is gonna get a kickstart on the process and give it nice mouthfeel and get rid of the lumps. So that's kind of the consistency you're looking for right there. Just a little kickstart, a little head start for the mashing process of our potatoes. This is my secret weapon when it comes to making creamy mashed potato puree. Let's get to it. All right. So once this comes back up to temp, you want to put the speed on the mixer at low. That way you can control it, and you're not going too fast where it doesn't get carried away, overmixed, too gummy, and the gluten start to form and the starches get gummy in that mashed potato puree. So very low, you take your time, and you slowly add the puree into the mashed potatoes, little by little. And by going low, you're controlling the speed where you can see the consistency and start to see the creaminess of the puree come together. Very important, integral part to this process. All right. At this point, feel free to go ahead and lick the whisk. That's fine, I do it too, it's cool. All right, so we have that ready. We put that to the side. Deliciousness. Now you see me, I can eat a whole pot of that right there by itself. But we have a couple other players we want to bring to the table. So we have our ribeye that is right here. It's been sous videing low and slow for the last 2 hours. That fat has had a chance to render down and melt inside of the meat. So we're going to turn this off. Thank you for your service, Mr. Sous Vide. We're going to take our ribeyes out. We're going to turn our heat on. High heat, perfect sear. All right. So while that's coming up to temp, I'm going to also turn on the temperature from my wok. Whenever you're cooking and using the wok, you always want it on high temperatures. While that's heating up, I want to take this opportunity to take the ribeyes out of the bag. You see all that butter is melted into there. There's already a lot of delicious intermuscular fat that's in the ribeye, and the garlic and the thyme, it just really, really, really makes delicious flavors and resonates well with the ribeye. You want to go ahead and pat the ribeye dry. We already got that flavor from the butter and the herbs and the garlic, so you want to ensure that nice sear at this point now. As our pan is coming up to temp, we want to always use an oil with a high smoking point. So we're going to use grapeseed oil for the steak. And for the wok, I'm going to opt for some olive oil. You need something green. Green beans. But we're going to go ahead and amp that game up one more time. We're going to break out our wok once again. We're going to get some garlic, we're going to get some shallots, and we're going to go ahead and hit the wok-fried green beans. So they're already blanched and cooked off, so at this point, what we're looking to do is get a nice browning on them. So I add that to my pan. Pinch of salt, pinch of pepper, and just saute. You get the garlic, you get the shallots, you get all that incorporated in there. And what I like to do to get a nice caramelization and browning on the green beans, I like to leave it undisturbed for that first minute or so to have it kind of char a little bit. And that charring is going to really bring out those nice natural sugars that are in the green beans. All right, while that's doing this thing, I think our pan is ready. It's shimmering and it's shining. With the ribeye, because of that marbleization of fat, it's ideal when cooked best, medium, rare to medium, because that way you have the chance for the fat to break down and just really render down, caramelize, and just be melt in your mouth. Wonderful. A little salt, a little pepper. We're gonna really allow the ribeye to shine and speak for itself. Isn't that a thing of beauty right there? You see, the trick we had here now by using the sous vide, that fat has rendered out. It's cooked to that perfect medium rare, medium temperature. We're getting that nice hard sear on there. And it's not going to be chewy because we've successfully rendered down that fat. And it's melted all up inside and throughout the ribeye. Okay. Do a little butter baste as well. All right, put that in the pan, like so. And then tilt and baste. All right. There we go. Amazingness. I'm going to take these ribeyes off and I'm going to put them onto a wire rack like so. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. All right, and we have the delicious wok-fried green beans. See the nice caramelization, the brown bits on the garlic, on the shallots, on the green beans themselves. And they're not limp. They still have the integrity. They're nice and solid and firm. And that's a result of blanching your green beans. Always blanch your green beans, people. And what we do next now is we have our broiler on. We want to take that Parmesan crust and be very generous. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. And just coat the top of the steak, like so. Okay? As much or as little as you want. This is your meal. Make it yours. All right, that's pretty good right there. All right, we have our broiler going in the oven. We want to put it about 5 inches away from the broiler. You want it close, but not too close to the flame or the broiler, because you want it to brown. You don't want it to burn. And it's a very thin line sometimes between browning and burning, so be very conscious and keep a watchful eye on it, because you're at the finish line, you're almost there. We don't want to drop the ball yet. All right, so about after 3 to 4 minutes in the broiler, with the oil, with the Parmesan cheese, with those delicious Italian breadcrumbs, it should look something like this. Nice and browned and caramelized and flavorful. You see the oil and the cheese begins to kind of brulee and get nice and dark, but not overly browned. All right, that right there is exactly what you're looking for. Nutty, sweet, savory, delicious. Okay, I think the only thing left now is to plate up. We got the creamy garlic mashed potato puree. I'm gonna put that right there in the middle. I'm gonna take this beautiful Parmesan-Crusted Ribeye that's been artfully cooked in the sous vide. Put that on there like that. And then I'm gonna take a generous portion of those wok-fried green beans. Put that on the side like that. And this is a delicious plate of comfort food from the steakhouse to your house. This dish exemplifies every single thing I love about the American steakhouse. From the big, bold, delicious steaks, to the sides, to the presentation. It's simple, it's delicious, it's right in your face, and now you have the recipe. So go forth and cook away. Enjoy.